Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Pierce, and today I want to talk about something that's been a big part of my life and probably yours too. Depression.
Everybody know, nigga, you need to learn your fucking lesson. Nigga, I got depression. Hey, shout out mental illness.
Okay, so if you're watching this and feeling low right now, like you're stuck or a bit overwhelmed, I get it. I've been there too, and I don't want you to think that, your story is an isolated incident and that you're alone on this. So I want to share my story with you and share some ways that I found to really pull myself out of the darkness. But don't worry, if you don't care about my story and you want to skip right to the steps I made, I'll do some time prints and stuff in chapters so you can just pick out what you want to watch. So yeah, my story. Well, I've always been someone who's felt a lot, like whether it was stress from school, feeling like I wasn't good enough, or dealing with the regular losses and failures in my personal life. But it got to a point where it just all started to weigh on me. There were days where I just didn't want to get out of bed. I felt empty, like nothing I did mattered, and that caused me to push people away from me because I didn't want to see I didn't want them to see how low I was at the time. And worst of all, I felt ashamed to admit that I was struggling. And I know as men, this is something a lot of us can relate to. As men, we're often taught to man up as kids and to then, just lock in as adults. But the truth is that only made me feel more trapped. So one of the worst periods of my depression was when I graduated from university, actually. I was struggling to find work, as most, postgraduates do. So I would literally wake up with honestly nothing to look forward to in that day other than just numbing myself with distractions. And of course, applying for jobs that I was getting rejected. It got to a point where I started applying for jobs that I did not want at all. Just for context, I did law at university and I was getting rejected for warehouse jobs for like 4 months straight. And to cope with this, I was playing video games for around 10 hours a day, isolating myself. And it wasn't until I, had a moment where I just looked at myself in the mirror and I realized I was becoming someone I didn't want to be. I was crusty, musty, and on the verge of giving up. I love to say that, I found a job a couple months later and then everything was okay. But I'd be lying. That is not what happened. I soon realized it wasn't just my unemployment that was, the root of my depression. It was something a lot more insidious. It was my identity, the way that I viewed myself, the way that I perceived my existence. Because the way that I perceived myself and therefore the world around me was absolutely fucked up. I went from job to job, really hating my life from 9 to 5 and then coping with my existence with, just drugs and video games from 6 p.m. to 1 in the morning. And it got so bad that my girl literally just had to sit me down and tell me that she was worried about me and that she was thinking of leaving me. And that was the real wake-up call that I needed. Like almost losing the person that, that you love the most. I knew something had to change. I had to change, I had to grow. I couldn't stay like this forever. And this is what I refer to as my turning point. So my turning point didn't really just happen overnight, and it wasn't just that one event. It was a long process of just realizing that I needed help. And that's the hard part, like asking for help. For me, I found that, talking to someone about, what I've been going through was probably the most powerful steps, but also one of the most difficult. Because when people around me would ask me how I was doing, I would give them the typical, I'm okay, I'm doing all right, just survive and just make light of it. And as men, this is our favorite line of the script that we've been given for our existence. Like it feels like the male existence is just saying that you're okay when you're like at the brink of fucking jumping off a bridge. Because the desperation that we view having to call for help, coupled with our ego telling us that we have to fix our own problems ourselves, is something that really does prevent us from getting the help we need and living the lives that we deserve to live. And I'll be honest, finally opening up to my fiance about how I was feeling was a real powerful moment for me, because it was something that I was avoiding doing for a long time. Because it took real courage to step down and step down from that untouchable facade that a lot of us men keep up. When the truth is, a lot of us are just hiding behind this mask of I'm okay, this mask of I can handle it, this mask of it is what it is. Whether it's a friend, family member, or a therapist, speaking the words out loud lifted some that weight off my chest. And one of the things I learned was that it's okay to be vulnerable. Like being real about what you're feeling is not weakness, it's a strength. And what really helped me find my blind spots was going to therapy. CBT to be specific, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And I was about 6 months deep at this time into, self-help research, just reading books, watching videos, and just trying to learn about myself as much as I could. But it wasn't until I took the leap and actually spoke to a professional that I was able to understand that what I was doing was something special. I was changing my identity. I was becoming a new version of myself. I was evolving, and that takes time, courage, and systems. Okay, so let's talk about some of the tools that helped me beat my depression. But this is the part that I definitely think you should pay attention to if you didn't really care about the first part, which is, that's all right. So yeah, I want you to understand that there's no magical kind of cure for depression. There's no, top 5 things you need to do to beat depression. But there are some tools that can make a world of difference. And for me, it was a combination of things. Firstly, I started journaling. I literally just writing down how I was feeling, what was on my mind, no matter how messy or complicated or just stupid it sounded. And it really gave me some clarity. I also found that being more active, whether that's going for a walk, hitting the gym, or even just doing something creative, actually helped release some of that tension that I was holding. I feel like in today's society, we rarely give ourselves just time to exist. And I think that really helped me be more grateful for the things that I do each day. As I reminded myself that I can literally just sit with my thoughts. I will be okay if I just do that. Something that I used to fear, my mind, wasn't actually this enemy. It was a friend in disguise. I just didn't know how to, make it a friend, because I'd never actually tried to face it head on. And this is how meditation became a real viable option for me, which is something I never thought I'd even attempt, to be honest. I always thought it was kind of cringe, but that's just ignorant speaking. I also stopped avoiding uncomfortable conversations and uncomfortable situations. And instead, I decided to be my authentic self with my loved ones. I leaned on my fiance for support, and I needed it, instead of pretending like I was fine and everything was okay. And this helped actually improve our connection, and it improved my connection with myself. And I started to learn new things, seeking knowledge and understanding of bigger topics outside of my comfort zone. And this humbled me to the point that I had to accept that I knew basically nothing about anything, and that most of the things that I believed were actually a lie that I was just trying to tell myself to cope. And altogether, building a daily routine that I actually enjoyed and allowed me to get closer to my goals was one of the biggest factors to my growth at the start. I had to literally create a system that made failure almost impossible, or at least as hard as it could be. I literally became obsessed with my routine, to the point where even right now it's still my lock screen. Not sure if you can see that. But this is also something that became a double-edged sword, because I got so obsessed with my routine that whenever I would break it just because, life happened or I failed to tick everything off for that day, I would start to punish myself or talk down on myself. And this is where I learned an invaluable lesson. A lesson that I think everyone on their journey to improve themselves needs to learn. And that is the power of being kind to yourself. So with that being said, let's talk about the importance of self-compassion. So one of the biggest lessons I learned through my journey of, being depression and starting to live my life authentically was that you're going to mess up. As a human, you're going to fail. It's literally ingrained in us to be imperfect. And due to this, we're usually our own worst critics and our own biggest haters, which is actually a topic for a video that I've made in the past, which I'll put in the card above. Because I used to beat myself up a lot for, not being strong enough, not being productive enough, or just not being enough in general. But over time, I just realized that healing takes time. And I needed to be kind to myself. Because if you think about it like this, if you've been conditioned by your trauma for the last 10 years, what makes you think that you can just overcome it in a couple months? Or even a couple years? Because it's going to take time. If your brain has, literally developed in a situation where you believe something that is not true is true, it's going to take a while to unlearn that. And that's something I had to just understand about myself. It's going to take time. Because when you're in a dark place, it's very easy to think that you'll never feel better, or you'll never feel the same again, or you'll never, be able to be happy again. But trust me, things get better and do get better if you get better. Because it's not about, perfection and trying to be this perfect, ideal human. It's about making progress. It's about being able to look back a couple months to a couple years ago and be like, okay, wow, I appreciate that person I was then because they've made me who I am today. Because we all have this voice in our heads, and working on making that voice a more friendly, kinder one will literally change everything for you. Because for a lot of us, this inner voice that we have been tainted by people who, told us who we were, told us that we couldn't do things, told us that we were unlovable, a waste of space. But you have to cleanse that inner voice of the negative conditioning that it's gone through and make it a more, reliable narrator of your actual experiences. Okay, so this is my direct message to you watching this. If you're watching this right now and you're struggling with depression, you're struggling with anxiety, you're struggling with, any of these mental health conditions, I want you to know that there's hope. I want you to know that it gets better. I want you to know that the world is not a better place without you in it. Although your brain may be telling you that where you are right now is where you'll always be, I want you to know that's not true, because you're not broken, you're not weak, and most importantly, you're not alone. Because depression doesn't define you. It's just something that you're currently experiencing. It's not going to be your only experience. So reach out for help, take it one step at a time, and most importantly, be patient with yourself. This is your first time existing. This is your first time living. Take that into some consideration the next time you feel like you want to just shit all over yourself. Be like, yeah, maybe I messed up, but it's my first time. I'm trying. I'm growing. What else can I do? I want you to know that you're stronger than you think, and the world needs you here. The world is a better place with you in it, whether you believe that right now or not. Okay, thank you for watching, and if you're going through something right now, I urge you to, leave a comment down below and speak to people. I'm sure there's people here that have gone through similar things to you and are able to help you. And remember, the whole point of this channel and this kind of community is that we're here to help each other. So if you have any questions or you have any concerns, leave them in the comments. I'm sure either myself or someone else in this community will try and help you. And if you do want to join our community over Discord, I'll leave a link down below for that as well. And if this video did help you or you just found it valuable, I would appreciate if you left a like or you shared it with someone you think would benefit from it as well. Remember, take care of yourself, okay? I'll see you in the next one.